right, chat. Funny seeing you here again. But yes, we are on to part 2 of tonight's kind of double feature, the double header, as you would. We've got the Texas track stabbing. So it's the alleged murder. Well, it's a murder of the death of Austin Metcalf. And you guys don't know about this. We're gonna get into it in a second here. But thank you for everybody being here. My name's Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area. I do a lot of criminal defense work, and hey, we got a criminal defense story because somebody did something and he's been charged with a crime. So, what does this mean? How does this work for us? What are we looking at? And hold on, I take a. I do. Sorry, 2.0 got me some pills. I'm having the sniffles. And it's like, I'm not sick, but I've just been like uncontrollably sneezing and my nose running all afternoon. I don't know why. Um, so we are going to get into this here about how this works. You think they calculated metric time? Well, funny chat, funny stuff. So if you guys just missed it, we covered the Carl Drops lawsuit, and he lost. And you're like, but wait, I thought it was about cheating. No, there was a cheat. It was Carl. So he lied to everybody and stole everyone's money. So now we're going to get into this this issue today, what happened in Texas a couple of days ago. We are live here on Rumble. We are live on Twitter. And once again, we are live here on YouTube, obviously. Most of you are watching us on YouTube. So let's get started in this and what this whole story is, because there's a lot here. Like, well, what's going on? What are we addressing? Like, what are we talking about? And it's a you're like, starting off when you heard about this, I know a lot of people had concerns about, like, what was the ultimate issue here? And we have two separate pictures, things we can run off of here. And if you guys don't know who's who, let's start with that. So here we go. First guy, the first parties involved. On the left, you have Austin Metcalf. Okay, so in this one, he's the victim. And this is Karmelo Anthony. Not that Karmelo Anthony. This is Karmelo with a K. Austin is 17. Karmelo Anthony is 17. And right now he is the defendant. Karmelo is accused of taking a knife and stabbing Austin. And he stabbed him right in the chest, and Austin died. So that's kind of where we are with this, chat. That's kind of where we are. Now, before we get any further on that, that's it. That is it so far. That's all we know. We have the police reports. We're going to go through that. But that's the basic story. But what caused somebody to get stabbed? Well, let's get to that. Now, this occurred in Texas, in Tejas. As this happened, this was in Frisco, Texas, which we have some interesting pictures of what's going on. And as this happened, we have information about where this took place. So this took place at a track meet. And we're going to start off with, what does the track meet look like? And this is a picture of the situation here. This is a picture of the area. So this is at a track meet. And at a track meet, you got your little pop-up awnings, and you guys have seen these before. They happen all the time. Like, the awnings you have up everywhere. You're like, well, how do you set them up with bleachers? Well, you shorten the one set of legs, and the other legs are longer. It all works out. You sit underneath them. Even if it's not raining, if it's sunny out, you give people a tent to hide under. It gives you shelter from the sun and the rain. This is what we're looking at here. Now, this is the bleachers. Now, from what I'm understanding, and because the picture of Austin showed him in a black and yellow. So, God, I hate doing that, but I know you Pittsburgh people out there are probably thinking that. Anyways, I'm pretty sure this is their tent, and this is their colors. As you can tell, it's been moved a little bit, and there's people around it, but it looks like you can be underneath it. So from here, what happened? Well, we're going to go to the police reports because we do have police reports. Okay. And these arrest reports are helpful for us to figure out what's going on. All right, you guys. So here is the first one. This is the arrest report out of the Frisco Police Department. Yes, and Frisco is a large suburb from Dallas. And yes, the Cowboys and the Dallas Stars have a practice facility in Frisco. Yes. So if you guys are wondering here, we probably should have done that using on the maps. Where is Frisco, Tejas? Well, let's get to it. And you can see, hold on here. So, Chad, if you want to know where Frisco is, here is, Texas. You could almost say it's deep in the heart of Texas. So it's north of Garland. It's north of Plano. It's, there's Fort Worth. But you get to Frisco, and you're in Frisco, Texas. Okay, so this is in Frisco's a nice community. These are nice. The suburbs of Dallas are not bad. So that's where we are. Now, Tejas, my foot, more like South Oklahoma. Okay. Yes, I understand. Yes, the King of the Hill thing about, yes, if you're from Texas, this is Oklahoma, basically. Like, real Texas is not here. But whatever. You're going to have to suffer, Texas. Stuffa. Now, we're going to move on to what we know. This is an arrest report. It's by the police department. So you have Karmelo Anthony. Apparently his middle name is Sincere. Like, I'm not going to make fun of that. It's his name. It's his name his mama gave him. He works at HEB, which is a grocery store. But right now he's been charged of first-degree murder. Okay? He's first-degree felony. He's been charged with murder. So in Texas, what does murder mean if you get charged with that? It means a potential sentence of 5 to 99 years. So he could get 5 years, he could get 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, all the way up to 99. That's what he's looking at. It's very serious. It's very serious. Now, what happens? What happens with this? All right. So we have the cops come in. If you guys, I think you guys should be able to read this, but I'll zoom in a little bit more so you guys can read it, but I don't want it to be too blurry. And I think that's the right size. Okay. Perfect size. So the police received a dispatch call that there was a stabbing, that an athlete had been stabbed. And the suspect was a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants. Okay. So they ran across the parking lot. This occurred April 2nd, chat. So this is a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday at 10 a.m. April 2nd at 10 a.m. You're like, why are these? Like, I don't know how that works in Texas, but that just seems like a weird time to have a track meet. But okay. But they were all there. So anyways, he goes on. He gets to the north side of the bleachers. He arrived. He found, there was an adult male who was on the track, pointed out the suspect. I was not able to identify that witness because he's like, I don't remember who told me. The individual pointed out to me was a black guy wearing a gray hoodie, sweater, and dark colored Nike pants. And he talks about the suspect at this point was on the track at the north end. And there was a chain link fence that separated me from the suspect. The cops are saying, like, where he was. I gave the suspect the instruction to keep his hands up. During that time, the suspect verbally out loud said, I was protecting myself. Now, here's the deal, guys. At times, is it okay to make a statement? Should you never talk to the cops? Yeah. Is this the worst thing to say? No. Can you say this later? Yes. But saying it right there is not always the worst option. So, as I tell you, as a prophylactic rule, do not talk to the cops. Is this the worst thing you could do? No. Would I recommend it? You got to be very careful. Very situationally dependent. So, that is an issue here. about what, like, who should have done this? What should they have done? So why did he do this? Well, he tells the cop, I didn't do it. I defended myself. All right. So we're moved. Hold on. Did I go to the wrong page here? Okay, no, I'm on the right page. Okay. Lost my track for a second. The cop says it should be noted I did not question him about the incident. And why did they bring this up? Because it's a Miranda issue. Remember, chat, when you deal with Miranda, Miranda is a two-pronged issue. When it comes to Miranda, you have the two parts to Miranda. You have custody and you have interrogation. You have to have both parts. If you're not in custody, but you're just being interrogated, Miranda does not apply. So, what is custody? Well, let's just talk about the custody part first. What's custody? Well, custody is obviously you are not free to leave. You are under police custody. Well, how do you determine who's under custody? Well, there's multiple ways. Are you handcuffed? Yeah, that's pretty clear you're in custody. Are you in the back of a police car? That's a pretty good indicator you're in custody. Have you been asked if you can leave? Remember, chat, you hear people in body cams all the time. Am I free to go? Am I free to go? It could be. Like if they say no, you're in custody. Would a reasonable person think they're in custody as well? Would they think they've been, their freedom of movement has been restricted and that the police are in charge of them? That's custody. And then the second part is interrogation. So you have custody, but you also have interrogation. What's interrogation? Interrogation is the questioning of you with the intent to elicit information about the alleged crime. So if you're in custody and the cop asks you a question of what's your name, or, is there anything on you that's going to poke me, stick me, or hurt me? Those are not questions generally that would become a Miranda issue. Because you broke into a house and they caught you. Well, they're basically arresting you and booking you. The questions have to be about the crime that you're being arrested for. So, for example, if when you hear people, you see cops don't always read the Miranda rights. They're not asking you questions about that crime. That's the detective's job. They're just here to arrest you. So just because you're arrested doesn't mean Miranda applies. It's about eliciting statements from you. So in this case, if they asked him, why did you do it? What happened? If he said, tell me what happened, guess what? He would have to tell them, because currently he's in custody. He's not free to go. You told him he can't leave. Okay, he was getting patted down. All right. He's being told what to do. Okay, but you're not being asked what happened. Did you do it? How'd you do it? Anything like that. Where's the weapons? Those things would require Miranda. Now, there are exceptions to Miranda. So, for example, there's a case called Quarles v. New York. Quarles was on the run from the cops and ran into a supermarket, and the police captured him. Quarles had a gun. They knew he had a gun, but when they searched him, they couldn't find the gun. They asked Quarles, where is the gun? And it's because they were worried somebody in the grocery store was going to find the gun and get injured. That Miranda didn't apply right then and there. There was an emergency. But generally speaking, Miranda applies. There's a famous case called Innis versus Rhode Island. The guy was arrested by the police and they couldn't find the gun. And as they're driving down the street, the cops are sitting in the front of the car going, it'd be a shame if some little kid found that gun out there, because you know what they'll do? They'll point at each other and hurt themselves. And the guy said, wait, I know where the gun is. Let me take you there. They did that with the intent to elicit information about the crime. They then charged him with the crime of having the gun. That was a suppressed statement, a Miranda statement. There's another case, Nix versus New Jersey. The guy had murdered a person and murdered a woman and buried her in the woods. And the cops were driving along. And they're like, we just want to give her a good Christian burial. Can you help us with that? They basically guilt tripped him into talking about where the body was. Evidence used against him. Those statements and all that was a violation of Miranda. So there are times where this thing happens. You have to follow the rules. Any statements of violation of Miranda are suppressed. So he's pointing out, I have not Mirandized this guy. I didn't do anything to him. That's why the cop is bringing this up. There is a clear reason why he's doing it. Oh, you guys are saying this is part of the state track meet, so it's like regionals, districts, and state? Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense then. Okay. But we're going to keep going here. I asked him if he had any weapons. He said no. And that becomes, is that a Miranda issue? Yeah, kind of maybe. I'd probably try to suppress it. Probably won't get you too far. It's probably going to be a safety issue. I pat him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I didn't locate any. I instructed him to walk along the fence, and he complied. And there was an opening. And he said, while walking along the track, the suspect also said he put his hands on me. Now, once again, he's pointing out, I have not Mirandized him. He is voluntarily making statements. These are admissible statements right now. Now, we may watch the body cam and maybe he asked them a question or two. I don't know. But right now, all we have to go off is the officer saying, I didn't say shit to this guy. And he just boop, 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 talking. Probably not a good idea to talk right now. He says, then I detained the suspect in handcuffs. Now he's clearly under arrest. He's clearly in custody. I had him sit on the ground. Another officer arrived. They conducted another pat down and they searched his person after he gave me consent. Now, why are they talking about, consent? Well, because now they can claim that the searches are lawful. He consented to it. He's also, technically 17, so they probably didn't know how old he was. They're making sure in case he's a juvenile. Now, while he's sitting on the ground, the cop, hits his radio and says, I've got the alleged suspect. And the kid says, I'm not alleged, I did it. So they walked, as they walked back to the patrol vehicle, they walked to the squad car. The suspect was emotional. I'm sure he was. He just killed someone. And he said he put his hands on me. I told him not to. Once again, the officer says, I did not question him about the incident while he was escorted to the patrol vehicle. Once again, they're trying to avoid any Miranda issues. We'll get to the weapon found part, chat. We'll get to the weapon part. So, they searched him again. Notice they keep talking about how much they searched him. And I think that's something they're trying to use to help paint a picture here. Now, they did talk about, while he was in the back seat, I noticed fresh blood on his left middle finger. I verbally acknowledged the blood out loud so it would be captured on my body-worn camera. It should also be noted the suspect asked me, is he going to be okay? Now, why is that important? Well, that's going to be an issue about, is he okay? I think that can be used to show there was this guy has some consideration, that he's not just some cold-blooded killer. And that's something his attorneys can use down the road. So they talk about what they did. They confirmed his identity. They talk about all this stuff here. So they asked him some questions. But they point out that I did not question Karmelo about the incident. But remember, they can ask him about where are you from? What's your name? What do you go to school with? Those are all basic questions that are not covered by Miranda. The Supreme Court has decided that before. The Supreme Court has said booking questions and basic information, as long as it's not relevant to the incident, are not protected by Miranda. So they say upon arriving at jail, he was escorted to the intake area. He remained with the staff and he was changed over. The clothes he had on were placed in a paper bag. Remember, chat, they place them in a paper bag. That way the blood and anything on them doesn't mold or spoil, and they can dry it out and properly do forensic work on it. So they then go ahead and they take care of things there. He says, I added my body-worn camera to the case. I have nothing further to talk about. So that's it. That's the first guy who showed up. Now, Officer Ricci showed up, and she starts off by saying, I'm Officer Ricci. I was wearing a full police uniform. Now, why did she include that? Well, it's her way of saying, look, I was there. I was clearly identified as a cop. And she probably does that all the time. It's probably how she was trained to do it. And she was operating a fully marked Frisco police vehicle, so she wasn't driving an unmarked. There's no questions about it. That's 100%, and that's why they do that. And she said somebody had been stabbed, so I arrived on the scene. Now, she talks about, as I approached, they stated he was the alleged suspect. He then made the spontaneous statement that stated, I am not alleged, I did it. So they talk about doing the pat downs, and they do other things there. Anthony made another statement And this is where Anthony makes another spontaneous statement. She's saying spontaneous because I didn't ask him anything. And asked if what happened could be self-defense. So now we have 4 statements made by Karmelo. They touched me, I acted in self-defense. I'm not alleged I did it. Is he okay? And then, would this be considered self-defense? He's making a lot of statements. Remember, chat, self-defense, you are admitting you did the thing. It's an affirmative defense. So this is already starting along this road. Fractal Failure is saying, he's a good boy, he didn't do nothing. Yes, thank you.
National Grilled Cheese Day, don't disappoint your fans.
I won't. Well, chat, just so you're aware, 2.0 reminded me it's National Grilled Cheese Day, and she made me 2.0 made me a grilled cheese. I'm surprised she could do that. Normally, I'm the one who does the cooking, but looks very good, nice and golden brown. We'll take a look at that in a second. Thank you. 2.0 chat. Let's give her guys. Give her a hand. No, I mean really. Mon Chéri, I love you. And you are an amazing woman. I'm very fortunate to have you in my life. So, yeah, she reminded me I'm fat. She does that all the time. So she talks about all this, and she said, I replied, and getting back to this, Fractal Failure over on Rumble, thank you for being in there. And Trap Mule says, hey, everybody. So, she says, though, I replied by telling him I don't know what happened. It should be known the in-car camera was on. So now we have body cams, and we have, and we now have in-car camera footage. So while they were assisting him into the car, I noticed he had blood on his hands. I grabbed my digital camera and took a picture of his hands. So now we have more evidence. We have his clothes, we have all the cameras, and now we have pictures of the blood on his hands. Literally blood on his hands. And she said, nothing further from me. Okay, so notice we're getting a lot of information from these first 2 officers, a ton of information. We move on to page 3. We can kind of skip to where we need to go. We can keep going. We can skip all this stuff here, okay? This is done by a Sergeant Otis, and this guy. And here's the thing, chat: these people are all trained differently and at different times. This guy speaks in the third person. He says Sergeant Otis. He speaks about himself in the third person. So we're gonna have to deal with this. So. He talks about walking around where they found stuff. And they say the suspect was crying hysterically. But he says he walked up to the bleachers and observed the victim being treated by the fire department and also the athletic trainers. And he says the weather began to turn and it began to heavily rain. At this time, some of the staff moved the memorial tent to cover the victim and the firefighter personnel. So as we go back to this shot, chat, this picture, we'll go back to this picture here. It makes sense why the tent was moved. Because you can see here, chat, the tent, if the tent was sitting up this way, that tent would be perfectly level. But they immediately moved it down in a hurry to cover this guy as the firefighters are trying to treat him. So he was probably down here getting treated. So that's why it looks like that. I think it's just interesting to think about how this is working, how this stuff's set up. So then Sergeant Oates began to use his city-issued phone, and this is important. He used his city-issued phone, not his personal phone. Why? Because his personal phone could be subpoenaed, and then everything on it's discoverable. So he used his city-issued phone to snap crime scene photos to preserve as much due to the weather changing. Blood will wash off. People are going to grab all their shit and get it out of the way. So that's going to be a problem, trying to preserve the crime scene. So the officers were informed the knife had been tossed and was still somewhere. Eventually, one of the witnesses said they remember seeing it on the bleachers. Eventually, they located the knife. It was between rows 9 and 10, near seat 30, closest to the aisle, and it was partially open. So it's some sort of folding knife. The rain came down again, and it was determined instead of moving the knife, the officers would cover it with a large blue tarp. And that's evidence protection, chat. They are trying to protect the crime scenes. So from what we can tell here, it looks like, row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The knife is probably like right here, right in the middle, like that. So that's where the knife was. And that's where the tent probably was too, because look at the rest of these other tents. They're all up there a bit of a ways. So he insisted in preserving the crime scene as much as possible. So they go through this. His city issue phone had a total of 33 photos that were used to document the scene. During the initial download, the photos were incompatible. He re-downloaded the photos that he took and were able to save them properly for preservation. So now we have a ton of photos in all the body cams. So here you go. Here you go. Like we're getting there. We're getting to a lot of stuff happening. I have nothing further to add. So he's done. Moving on to the next guys. Oh, actually, hold on here. We need to go back to this guy. Officer Wetzel. He says, I showed up. I arrived on scene like right after everything happened. And he says, I was walking around and they told me what happened. I asked them where the stabbing occurred. And they talk about what happened here. He didn't really get to do much. But here's where we start learning that such and such advised him. And we're learning basic information now. Somebody advised that he was sitting under the high school pop-up tent with his team, and he was near the victim. And he was near the victim and the suspect, Austin Metcalf, and also Karmelo. Anthony was from, and they talk about Karmelo Anthony was from Centennial High School and sitting in the memorial tent. Now we get to the stuff. Austin had told Anthony he needed to move out from under their team's tent. And Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and proceeded to reach inside and tell Austin, touch me and see what happens. Now, is that a taunt? Is that a threat? Is that a warning? We don't know. We're going to need a lot more information. But now we're like, what is this? What is it? What is it? No one really thought Anthony really had weapons in his bag. And Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. Now, here's part of the issue. Now that becomes, are you taunting? Is that a threat? Is this take your swaying? What is this? I think we're starting to run into that issue. What happens here? What happens here? Is this an indication of intent? Maybe. I think we're going to need to see it because remember, chat, the neat thing is it's 2025. And this is a big congregation of a bunch of I don't think they're Zoomers or Gen Alpha. Guess what they all have? They've all got these. And I bet a bunch of them were filming it. I think a bunch of them were like, ooh, someone World Star! Oh shit, he got stabbed. I'm sure there's a lot of videos. I think there's a lot of context that we're missing right now. So do I think at this point, though, why is Anthony there? Why won't he leave? I get it. It might be raining a little bit, but we're going to get to what I think probably everybody could have done and not so nobody was fucking dead or stabbed here. So a short time later, Austin grabbed Anthony, told him to move, and when Anthony pulled out what this person recalled as a black knife, it stabbed him once in the chest and then ran away. Austin grabbed his chest, told everyone to get help. They didn't know Anthony's name, but another Memorial Track member was friends with Anthony and could identify Anthony. And he was wearing he had a goatee, short puffy hair, and he wore the Centennial High School clothing. So that's where we start with that. So there we go. Touch me and see what happens. Is that a taunt? Is it a provocation? I don't want any trouble. If you come up to me and cause problems, I'll handle you. Is that a threat? Is that a taunt? Is that a provocation? We don't know. So, but now we have some basic information that these guys interacted. Now, Anthony and Austin were there. Now, let's kind of like just be honest with ourselves here. How do we think this went? Do we think that Austin walked up and said, "Good sir, I dare say you are underneath our dwelling, our temporary dwelling. Even though it might be precipitating outside, we would ask that you extricate yourself from underneath of our temporary dwelling. Many of my comrades have valuable items, and considering that we don't know your identity nor your character, we wish for you to make haste and move along, sir. Good day." I don't think it went like that. I also know Anthony didn't go like this. "I say, good sir, it's rather precipitating hard, and I don't wish to become drenched myself. I wish no harm to you or your comrades. I wish to take none of your precious items from you. I just wish to hang out here for a second and rest myself with the inclement weather approaching." I don't think it went like that. I'm sure there's a lot of fuck you, no fuck you, I'll fucking kick your ass, no I'll kick your ass, and I'm sure there was also get the fuck out of here, motherfucker. I'm sure that's kind of what happened. I'm sure that's kind of what happened. I'm just trying to tell you, it's very much this idea. I'm sure that neither one of them was just like, golly gee willikers, and the other guy is just acting like a lunatic. I'm sure it's a bunch of 17-year-olds who are fucking jawing off at each other. Because let's be real, how did this probably go? How did this probably go? Now, maybe it did go that way. Maybe it did go that way. Well, Lily Lynn, it says stabbed in the heart is pretty harsh for telling him to leave. Well, there was a lot more than that. There was a lot more than just him telling him to leave, because we do see that at some point Austin grabbed the guy. Now, do you have the right to put your hands on someone? Like, why didn't they, hey, go get a coach, go get a teacher. Hey, let's go get the security guards. Let's go get the policeman. Like, there are people who can handle this situation, who are paid to handle this situation. In fact, there's a guy at our school who has a gun who can handle this situation. You have to think about it a little bit. You know, if this guy's threatening you and he shoved his hand in a bag, like, you know, do you really want to play the game of, well, he doesn't have a weapon? Well, you gambled and you lost. But, you know, go get you're 17, but still, even if these guys were 25 years old, 25-year-olds, go get somebody running the thing and tell them, like, get the fuck out of here, motherfucker. I'm running this program. Or, like, let's say they're at, like, a volleyball tournament at a bar. Are you really going to fight the guy, or go get the guy running the bar, tell him to fucking leave, and if he doesn't leave, go get the fucking cops and kick his ass out? Which way is the way that avoids problems? Second way. Second way avoids a lot of problems. You know, the second way also avoids, like, if the first guy you're dealing with is like a scared little bitch who will stab you as soon as you grab him, guess what? You don't get stabbed. So there's all kinds of things here where it's like, just be like, you have to be mindful. You have to be mindful. You still, like, I'm not saying Anthony's justified. I'm just saying when you interact with people, you should be mindful of who you're dealing with. You have to be smart. You have to be smart. You know, people will attack you over the littlest fucking things, so you should be very careful in how you deal with people. You should pay attention to, like, pre-fight indicators. And if this guy's threatening you with a weapon, like, he's got his hand in his bag, he's not saying that because he's gonna, like, pull out some, like, D&D figures and start playing. Like, fuck, he might have a weapon. I should probably go get some help. So, you gotta be smart. You gotta be smart. You gotta be intelligent about how you do it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm sure if you could bring Austin Metcalf back to life, he'd be like, fuck, I should have just left them alone and got the teachers involved. I'm sure he'd be like, I don't want to be dead anymore. I'm also sure Karmelo Anthony's like, I wish I hadn't done this. So I'm sure, like, both these guys are like, I could have done things differently, and I probably wish I could do things differently. You gotta be smart when you're dealing with people. People are fucking dangerous. And this idea of, I'm just going to fucking grab this guy and do my thing. Like, you have to be prepared that guy's not a fucking psychopath or some impulsive person who's got a knife. Because guess what? If they do and they stab you because they're a scared little bitch, well, you're dead now. So you have to really think about using force. You have to be very careful when you use force. You might be using it somebody who's completely insane. You have to be very, very, very fucking careful. Tim says, sorry, not going to live life like that. I'm not saying don't do anything, but like if you're going to grab that guy, okay, you grab the guy and he stabs you and you're dead. I'm sure your kids are going to be like, well, at least daddy went after the bad man. I mean, I miss my dad, but at least he grabbed that guy and didn't take no shit from him. It's like, why don't you just go get the guy, get the people who it's their job to deal with this? This was like, why would you get involved? Never get out of the boat. You don't have to get out of the boat. Don't get out of the boat. Never get out of the boat unless you're going all the fucking way. And I'm sure Austin Metcalf wasn't prepared to gamble his life that day. Well, be fucking careful. The John Derbyshire rules are critical on top of that. So, yeah, I mean, yes, and that's the thing here. Defending the sanctity of the Frisco track team tent doesn't sound great on an epitaph. That's what I'm just saying. Like, is that what you want to die for? It's like, because the other guy might be willing to kill you over it. It's like, that's why you have to be careful. Max, Derbyshire's a cuck and would disagree with you. No, if you read the Derbyshire rules, he would 100% agree. He lost his job over it. You just have to be smart. Just be smart about it. So anyways, they talk about more people here. This guy, Officer Hancock, doesn't really have much to say. Multiple witnesses were providing statements, and we know that. There was more and more decisions here. They started talking about, multiple people were involved in this. As they go on, Hunter was the brother of the victim. They actually talked to Hunter, and I attempted to ask him what happened, and I couldn't get anything out of Hunter. And I don't blame him. Your brother, not only your brother, it's your twin brother just died. And those are, if you guys are twins out there, I'm sure you know this, but even if you're not a twin, twins have these weird connections, closer than any other type of human being can have. Twins have some amazing connections. So, it's something to think about. And he asked him what happened. He said we were all sitting on the bleachers under a tent when another male he did not know walked over and sat under the tent. And then Austin told this male since he didn't go there, he had to leave the tent. Austin and the male went back and forth, kind of like I said. Then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. Blank had said something during this time arguing. The male was reaching around his bag he had. It was at this time the male took out a knife and stabbed Austin and left the scene. So now we actually have a bit of a narration of what actually led up to the stabbing. Now, let's go off of what Hunter has said so far. Does any of this sound like self-defense? No. We have one-on-one, and we have one guy shoving, and then Karmelo taking out a knife and stabbing. I don't see self-defense there. I don't see a belief of serious bodily harm or imminent death. Objectively or subjectively. So, that was all he remembered when he talked to me. So, that doesn't sound like self-defense. That sounds like manslaughter or murder. And based on Texas law, this sounds like more like murder than anything else. Now they go on, they talk about more. They go talking about other people here. There's not a whole lot else. Because this is probably the most critical witness, because the brothers are probably hanging out. Now we move on to the next page. So they start talking about what they can do there. there's more information that apparently a student, and it sounds like it's not Hunter, a memorial coach approached me and said that he was informed a student claimed to see the entire thing. The student knew where the knife had been thrown. He pointed me in the location. This is where they talk about the blue tarp and that we should cover the knife without touching it in an attempt to preserve the evidence. And they said once they positioned the tarp over the knife, I reached down and grabbed a backpack to weigh the tarp down. And they weighed it all down with bags. It was good work. It was good work. Now, as he did it, he noticed it was the only Centennial High School backpack located with all the memorial backpacks. So really, I had to use I had to use the evidence to do that. Well, that's the nature of shit happening. All right. So they talk about what happened there. And there's not a whole lot more that's critical here in this, but they explain what happened. So now we know a lot of what's going on in this case. Move on to page 6. As I talk with everybody here, they talk about Hunter. It looks like Hunter came in, and he came in and gave his information. And they talk about all the witnesses that were there. All these witnesses were all there and involved. All these people identified themselves as witnesses. So look, there's a lot of people who saw this from a lot of different angles. Even more. Now, this is interesting because Centennial High School was there. And the head coach for Centennial heard Karmelo admit to stabbing the victim. So they go through this, and that's the entirety of it all. That's the entirety of everything. Now, from here, this is where, what else did other people say? What else have we heard so far? Well, Dad gave an interview. Dad gave a statement. And, this is what his dad said. He gave like a 15-minute interview, but here's kind of the crux of what Dad thinks.
It's very unfortunate that this other child decided to make a bad choice that's going to affect him for the rest of his life. I have compassion for every human being. This is not, I want to make this very clear. This is not a race issue. This is not a black and white issue. I don't want someone stepping up on a soapbox trying to politicize this. I don't appreciate some of the remarks I've seen online that people say there was this fight and they don't know, they weren't there. It's very unfortunate that this other child decided to make a bad choice that's going to affect him for the rest of his life. I have compassion for every human being. This is not, I want to make this very clear. This is not a race issue. This is not a black and white issue. I don't want someone stepping up on a soapbox trying to politicize this. I don't appreciate some of the remarks I've seen online that people say there was this fight and they don't know, they weren't there. It's very...
So here's the thing, Chad. I see you guys talking about that. There are people on both the pro-black and pro-white side arguing this is all racial. So I think that's part of his issue there. Notice he didn't say, I don't want him to go to prison. I'm sure he's going to walk in there and say, I want you to do all the fucking time possible. He says, we haven't heard all of it yet. And I listened to other parts of him there. He has compassion for somebody. Yeah, you killed my son. I've lost my son. And he understands the other family's going to hurt. But he's also going to say, you need to fucking pay for what you did. So there's nothing wrong with acknowledging, I'm sure he feels like, his concern is, there's another family hurting today. 2 lives have been destroyed. Karmelo's going to fucking prison no matter what. Like, he's not going to prison. It's just a question for how long. So, was it a hate crime? I don't think so yet. I don't think so. I don't think it was a hate crime. I don't think they're going to be able to articulate the hate crime. Like I said on Layback Law, I don't think the guy was out there doing his track meet going, oh, God, I want to stab a white guy today. I'm sure for him, he's sitting there and he comes in and sits on that bench and you don't tell him what the fuck to do. I'm sure Karmelo, when you confront him before this all happened, I'm sure he didn't take no shit from nobody. You ain't disrespect me, motherfucker. I'll do what the fuck I want. And I'm sure he's like, I ain't letting some lily white motherfuckers tell me what the fuck to do. I'm sure that's kind of how that went. I'm sure that's kind of how it went. Yes, this was a crime of being an asshole. Karmelo's biggest problem is he was probably a fucking asshole. That's his issue. So what can he do, though? What can he do? Can he claim self-defense? Well, at this point, no. No, because we know a bunch of stuff now about what happened. And from here, we can tell a lot. So from what we know so far, Karmelo comes walking along, boop, 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 and he comes and sits under the tent. And they tell him, get the fuck out. And they have a tussle. And he gets shoved out. And he gets shoved out of the tent and over to here by the fence. And he probably stabs the guy. Bam! Stabs him, and then he runs off. Then Karmelo splits. Now, is he going to be able to claim self-defense? Well, one of the biggest things in self-defense is, do you have a duty to retreat? Texas does not have a duty to retreat. Okay, so he doesn't have to retreat. But did he have a legal right to be where he was? And yes, this is a bleachers. You're allowed to be here. So he could be anywhere in here. Could he get charged with trespassing? No, because literally this tent is you wouldn't be able to charge somebody with trespassing if they sat under the tent and wouldn't leave. They could be disorderly maybe, but even then, that's a bit of a stretch. It's a bit of a stretch. So let's say we don't have any issues about him being where he's not legally allowed to be. There's no issues of duty to retreat. It then becomes, was his use of force subjectively reasonable and objectively reasonable? Excuse me. So was his use of force objectively reasonable and subjectively reasonable? It's not clear, and I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I mean, obviously, it wasn't objectively reasonable. There's no situation where any reasonable, prudent person would agree they would use force in that situation. He got shoved, it sounds like, or grabbed and then shoved. Well, the response to that might be a punch. That might be the proper response. The improper response is to pull out a knife and start using deadly force for a non-deadly force threat. Hold on, chat, 1 second. What's that? Yes. My God, my sinuses are killing me, chat. So, what do you do here? I mean, I don't think he had an objective belief, so he fails one half of that test. Remember, if you fail the objective belief, you're done. Did he have a subjective belief? I don't think he did. Did he have a subjective belief he needed to use a weapon? Now, who knows what he's going to say? I'm sure he's going to say something like, I walked under there and there were a bunch of people easy enough. I'm wearing, Centennial stuff. These guys are wearing Memorial stuff. It's a whole group of people who fucking don't like me. There's 15 people getting ready and it sounds like they were going to kick my ass. And then this big dude gets up in my face and his twin brother, there's 2 of them and he's going to be like, they were surrounding me and I got scared. Maybe that's his argument. We don't know what his argument is. And guys, like I said, I'm spotting the idea of, let's say he didn't have any issues about where he was allowed to be. Let's remove those. Let's get to the objective and subjective test. Because that's where he's going to fail no matter what. Did I watch Nate and Kurt discuss this? No. I did not. He put himself in that situation, though. I understand, like I said, we have to wipe that one off the map. Let's concede the point. Because he ultimately fails in the objective and subjective test. Those are going to be the critical test anyway. Did he have an objective belief that his use of force is reasonable? No, he didn't. And even subjectively, I don't think he does. I mean, it depends on what he said so far. Now, ultimately, it sounds like he freaked out and just all of a sudden did it. And I'm sure he was all, like I said, I think Karmelo is very much like, you don't fucking tell me what to do. You're not my dad. Blah, 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 blah. I ain't take no shit from nobody. I ain't no bitch. I'm sure he kind of like fucking read out and just stab the guy out of kind of like fucking reflex. So I don't even think he had a reasonable belief of that. I'm thinking he probably thought like shit's about to go down, but I'm sure he was acting like a dickhead at the time. So, yeah. Yeah. I don't think he has a subjective belief here either. Is this an N-word moment? I don't think so. I think this is an asshole moment. I think he was just a complete fucking asshole who was a little bitch. He couldn't handle the fact that somebody was telling him what's up. If you guys want to believe he had some sort of secret desire to murder white people, I mean, sure, fine. If you could prove it, great. But I mean, it just looks like a guy who was a little bitch. He didn't like being told what to do and fucking lashed out like a little bitch. I mean, I don't know what more you think I'm sympathetic to him. It's just, that's it. I mean, and remember what I said, like, Austin could have ran off and grabbed a teacher. Austin could have, gone off and grabbed a teacher and said, help me, teacher. You know what Karmelo could have done? Karmelo could have got his ass up and just fucking walked away. Get the fuck out of here. Well, fine, I'll leave. You really want it? Like, notice, this guy died over a tent. This guy killed somebody over a fucking tent. Like, remember, like, nobody wins here. Nobody wins here. Is this the bigger asshole? Yes. This is the bigger asshole. But obviously, this is not a good outcome either. Both these suck. They're both losers in this. I wouldn't want to be either of them. Neither one of these is a Chad right now. One of us in the morgue, one of them's going to prison for a good portion, if not almost all of his life. So, take your pick. Take your pick. You want a tar joust? Here you go. So, I don't know how he's going to make I just don't know how Karmelo's going to make a self-defense argument here. Not even imperfect self-defense or anything. I don't think he can show the argument. Like, I just don't think there's any subjective belief. I don't think anybody truly thinks he thought he was defending himself. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think he probably, the way he talks, he's probably not going to help himself. But we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell. In the meantime, we do know who his defense attorney is. His defense attorney gave a very quick statement. And his defense attorney talked for a little bit of time here.
Defense attorney Derek Walpole agreed to speak on behalf of Karmelo Anthony's family.
I know that my client said that it was self-defense.
And he has to speak because right now this is blown up national news. The dad for the victim spoken. The victim's brother has spoken. He has to go out there and talk. He has to do it. He has to do it.
I don't have any reason to disbelieve that, but I needed to develop facts and talk to people and figure out what's going on before I make any statements about what I think happened. I don't have any reason to think it wasn't self-defense at this time.
That's fair. If I was his attorney too, I'd say I have no reason to not believe that right now. Until you get more facts, it could change. But right now, I'm working off of what I have, and I don't have to worry about that same standard because I'm not Karmelo's attorney. Do I think Karmelo is going to be able to effectively articulate self-defense? No, not at all. But there are things he might be able to show. Like, could he show like there is a disparity in force and that there were a ton of guys and I thought they were going to kick my ass? I mean, maybe. Once again, this becomes an issue of like, is he actually going to be able to do it? I doubt it. I just don't think it's going to work out for him. The DA said he's not going for life. That's fine, but remember, it's in Texas, either your jury or your judge decides your sentence. So, for example, if you have a jury trial and you get convicted, the jury then decides your sentence. So it's a bit of a deal. It's a bit of a problem. Like, he could get a lot of time. Now, if they try for a lesser murder, maybe things will work out for him. But There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems with this guy. I think he's got a very difficult road to go. I don't see anything that will allow him to get not guilty by reason of insanity. There really aren't any other defenses he can use either. And this is a pretty straightforward case. We all know who did it. Everybody saw him do it. He admits to doing it. It's just, does he have a valid excuse for doing it? I don't think he does. But this is an example of kind of like going back to Carl Jobs, guys. Is this shit worth like ruining your life over? I mean, really more for Karmelo. Like, is this really like, are you going to fuck? Like, this is where somebody like should have asked Karmelo, like, are you going to fucking kick it off with everybody who gives you shit? I mean, seems pretty fucking stupid. I'm sure right now he's sitting in that cell thinking, fuck, I shouldn't have been an asshole. I shouldn't have had, like, why did I have to fucking fight everybody all the fucking time? Why did I have to do this? And I'm sure Austin Metcalf's like, fuck, I should have probably grabbed a teacher instead of trying to handle my shit myself. Like, I should have got some help. And I think you guys don't understand that. I'm not saying that, like, they're both equally culpable, but, you know, you don't need to go tar jousting. Like, if shit's going bad, go get help. Like, handling your own fucking business yourself, look what it gets you. You know, I'm sure Austin's dad is like, I wish he'd rather, like, why didn't he go get a teacher instead? Because I'm sure he's not sitting there saying, oh, my son proudly taught that nibba what's up. He's probably like, fuck, I miss my son. I'm sure his brother's like, fuck, I miss my brother. They're not sitting there saying, oh, he showed that darky what's up. Oh, by God, he protected that tent. He didn't take no shit from nobody. No, they're like, fuck. That wasn't worth it. That was a pretty shitty trade. That's the point I'm trying to get at here with you guys. You know, if you're the guy who's going to use force, you better prepare to go to fucking prison for it. I'm sure if somebody had checked Karmelo before he did that, are you prepared to go to prison over this? No? Get the fuck out of here. You know, somebody should ask Austin, are you prepared to die over this? No? Go get a fucking teacher. Get someone else. There's lessons to be drawn on both sides of this, chat, is the point. There are lessons we can all take from this. Because I'm sure most of us aren't going to go stab people over a tent. But there are a bunch of us who would say, hey, get the fuck out of here. And then when the guy says, no, I ain't leaving, it's like, okay, well, what's your next step? Is your next step to go and handle your business? Well, are you prepared to go all the way for it? If the answer is no, then go get someone else to help. The lesson's not get stabbed. Tim says, I argue in court. Do I hold back because the prosecutor might stab me? No. Yes, okay, yes. And like I said, you want to go on the Scott Adams road, fine. Yeah, that the point is here, but Michael brings up a better point. Both these kids seem like they didn't really understand or appreciate violence. And that's the biggest thing. You need to appreciate violence. Do you appreciate violence? Do you appreciate the idea of you grabbing somebody means you're fucking signing up for what happens? You know, whether or not it's legal or not. You know, great. Karmelo Anthony's going to prison. I'm sure Austin Metcalf's like, fuck, I wish I wouldn't have done this. You have to think about this. You have to think about this. Yeah, and this is the other thing, too. Don't be around people who have a chip on their shoulder. That's why you go get help. You get other people who can handle it. That's their problem. If he's over here being a fucking asshole, go get somebody who takes care of it. Because guess what? You don't have to then deal with that person who's a fucking lunatic or a scared little bitch. Guess what? You grabbed that scared little bitch and he stabbed you. Now you're dead. But once again, I know you're like, I ain't taking that shit from nobody. Great, you're dead now. And I'm sure they'll put on your tombstone, ain't took no shit from nobody. Like, jiggling your nuts doesn't do anything for you if you're dead. You got to be smart. It's not his fault. I'm not saying it's Dawson's fault. But could he have done other things that kept him from getting fucking stabbed? Yeah. You know, he swam in a shark tank and the shark fucking bit him. So you don't go fucking swimming in the shark tank. You know, you're mad that the scorpion stabbed you. That's why you don't go with the scorpion. You find another way. I'm saying get stolen from. Take it. Was anybody stealing shit here? Nero, did anybody steal anything? No. The guy's sitting in a fucking tent. It was raining. Did anybody do anything there? Like, that's my point. What is it that he had done? He had just sat down. Do you really want to fucking get? Are you gonna kick it off over every little thing? No. Did he steal anything yet? That's the point. He was seen going through other people's stuff. That's not info I have in front of me. Notice Hunter and them didn't say that. Patty, you're worried about that. Here's the point. If you're going to make that argument, your argument is basically, if you're arguing that they're not acting like human beings, why are you trying to argue that they're not being rational? You should presume they're not being rational and adjust yourself accordingly, right? If you're dealing with somebody you think is subhuman, why would you interact with them at all? You should be avoiding them and having other people handle that problem for you. Right? Well, that's how you handle that. Did he have friends on the other team? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If there are problems, get someone to help you deal with that problem. We have, things for that. Sturm Drank says, stop living your life like everyone's civil as you. It's dangerous. That's exact. You know what? I don't assume people are civil like me. I assume people are fucking lunatics and they'll kill you at the drop of a hat. That's how I operate. So that means I try to avoid getting into confrontations with people. You know, that guy you're shoving out of the tent, just kicking him out of your tent might fucking stab you for it. So I'm not going to try to cause an issue there. I'll work on getting rid of him through other means. You have to plan. You have to prepare. How do you do that? Getting people, like, they're people who carry fucking guns. And there's other people involved that can probably tard wrangle. You have to be smart about it. You have to be smart about it. Did he bring the knife? He probably brought it with him. Well, like I said, you guys are worried about bringing the weapons. Yeah. I'm just saying he can't claim self-defense regardless. He's not going to have an objective belief or a subjective belief. So I'm just heading off the two final things, no matter what, he can't overcome. So that's the point here. The point is, you wanted, like, if Austin realized, like, oh my God, this guy might kill me if I, like, over a fucking seat in a tent, I'll go get some help. If he's rifling through shit, great. We'll go get people. We'll go get the cops and we'll catch him and deal with him. You're going to kick it off with every fucking person that's walking down the street. You're going to get killed or have you're going to have a really fucking awful life. Got to be smart. You got to be fucking smart about what you're doing, chat. You want to start co-signing on this stuff, by all means, fine, have at it. Or you just kind of do it the right way. If that's happening and you catch them actually stealing shit, good. But notice we haven't heard that yet. You know, the guy who was sitting next to the dude who got stabbed said that wasn't happening. He came in and sat down. And they just told him he had to leave, not quit stealing shit. So. You know, that's like, you guys have to be smart. High Plains Drifter says, you don't hear the screams I'm hearing, Sean. He says, okay, I'm alone. The cops are low lives. Yes. All right. Yes, TND would liberate this line of safety, but yeah, it ain't happening. So, Johan's saying true, but we've seen time and time again. I understand that, but you, like, once again, let's say he's stealing shit. Let's say that's true. He stole somebody's iPhone. Are you willing to get stabbed in the chest over an iPhone? If you're willing to make that calculus and willing to make that decision knowingly and then go forward. Did this 17-year-old make that decision? Did he know that was a risk? I don't think he did. Once again, I think these guys both truly didn't understand violence. They truly didn't understand. I'm just going to grab him. I'm going to start grabbing somebody I don't know. Well, because he's like, you don't know who the fuck you're dealing with. And on the other side, the other guy was a scared little bitch. So they fucking collided and someone died. This is not a unique thing. So. What's the difference between the dumpster defenders take your swing and touch me and see this happens? I think especially with the dumpster defenders, I mean, well, the one guy's standing there holding a pistol saying take your swing. But other than that, these are both fairly similar. These were both really retarded events to get into a violent encounter over. So that's part of it too. And that's part of the reason why Karmelo's going to have a tough time. Because let's say he's not stealing shit. He just sat there and it's like, you stabbed this guy because you wanted to fucking sit under a tent. You're a fucking psychopath. We don't want you on our streets. Guilty. So there's going to be a lot of problems both ways. Torga the White says, why would a 17-year-old in an environment expect someone to stab him? This is like walking like in downtown Dallas. I mean, I don't know about you, but my dad explained to me, like, once I was like 16, 17, like, if you're going to fight people, are you prepared to go to fucking prison over it? If you get into a fight and you fucking crack someone's jaw, well, now it's felonious assault. You crack them and they fall over and die and they hit the curb and die. That's murder. That's manslaughter. Are you prepared for that outcome? No. You better be careful what the fuck you do. You know, and you better be careful who you're dealing with. Like, my dad taught me that. And some of you might, like, my dad taught me that regardless of race. Like, there's also racial elements involved in that too. But there are people out there who will be rock and roll at the drop of a hat. There are people out there, if you go into a fist fight, they'll fucking stab you and kill you. They might shoot you. They might just be little bitches. They might be psychopaths. You might, like, think about it this way. You go to a bar and you start fighting someone. You might fight Hannibal Lecter. Guess what? He'll fucking kill you and not think twice about it. Are you prepared to deal with that? Are you prepared to deal with that as an outcome? No. Then don't fucking get involved. Like, you better be prepared to go all the fucking way if you're going to fucking do something. You better be prepared. The other guy is willing to kill you over it. Are you prepared to handle that situation? No. You probably shouldn't go fucking around. It's like hunting an elephant. I'm going to go hunt an elephant. Are you prepared that elephant might charge you down and try to kill you? No. Then don't go hunt a fucking elephant. It might stomp your guts out. Well, I don't want that to happen. Well, then don't fucking sign up. Go hunt antelope or springbok or reebok. Like, you can't enter into a situation with a deadly animal and then go, I wasn't ready for this. Like, I was taught that. You need to be prepared. Shit, most of you guys, there's a book called Facing Violence. A lot of you should really read that. Like, you need to be mentally prepared for that stuff. And you guys can make fun of me being fat and whatever. Like, it is what it is. Are you mentally prepared to go all the fucking way? And understand everything. If you're not, then don't get involved in shit. If you are, great. Then you've gone into it with open eyes. So. Yeah, Ibex are my choice, but they're not necessarily in Africa. So. I study the pike for a reason, yeah. Justin Hayes says, I'm not going to hunt springbok in Africa. Well, I get it. You're going to go after the big stuff. Okay. Okay, Jordan, yes. Jordan says, so the elephant stole my tent. There's limited shade in the savannah and on my Glock. What do I do? Well, you go get your tent back. You go, Mr. Elephant, stop. Dirt Cheap says, don't drive a car, you might get in a wreck. Well, this is a little different than that. I think you would agree. This is actually more akin, Dirt Cheap, to people who, and I know people have done this before. They've talked about it. And you can watch it. There's like people with their dash cams of it. People who brake check people on the highway. Like, think about what you're doing. You're brake checking people. You're intentionally trying to cause an accident on the highway. And I've seen videos where people are brake checking at 70, 80 miles an hour. Think about how fucking retarded you have to be. Like, I'll show you. I'll cause a car crash where you might total my car, maybe kill me or severely injure me to teach you a lesson. I'll show you. Like, fucking think about what you're doing. If you're prepared for that, by all means do it, but you sound like a psychopath. But the idea is, if you're like, there's a crazy guy doing something. Like, if there's a crazy guy out in my front yard, am I going to go out there and confront him? I don't need to get fucking stabbed over that. Yeah, Sean shoved the guy off his property and he got stabbed. Way to go, King. Get that dub at my funeral. Is that what they're going to do? No, they're going to be like, fuck, I wish Sean was here. Why didn't you just call the cops and leave the crazy guy alone? Now, if the crazy guy comes to my house, okay, it's fucking game on time, Chad. I mean, yeah, we'll take care of business. But if I don't have to get involved, I don't need to get involved. I'd rather not get involved. Crazy guy in my fucking front yard. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, I'll call the guys with guns who could take care of that for me. And if they kill him, whatever, it ain't my fault. They get hurt, that's their problem. They get paid for that shit. You have to be smart about it. So, well, he's taking Clyde. Well, that's different. Like I said. So, Patty says, why did this POS raise thousands of dollars in a few days? If you think there's no racial component, you're nuts. Oh, I mean, like, for the people who support him, there's a racial component. But do I think this kid would have stabbed a lot of people? Sure. I'm sure if there was another group of kids that were black at that school, we're going to shove him out, I'm sure he would have stabbed whoever the fuck was there. I'm sure he would have stabbed whoever the fuck he got into a fight with. If the kids from Memorial were black and this kicked off, I'm sure he's fighting them with a knife too. Like, don't delude yourself. It wasn't just because they were white. I'm sure he did it because anybody who gives him shit, he would have fought. That's a bigger point here. Like I said, I don't see this guy being a polar bear hunter. Now, are there people out there saying the white kid deserved it because he's white? Sure. And they're fucking scumbags. But do I think this kid stabbed anybody up because they're white? No, I'm sure he just didn't take no shit from nobody. So regardless of who they were in that situation, is getting fucking stabbed. Honestly. That's my argument here. So if you want to make it, this guy was auditioning for the Black Panthers, fine. I just don't think that works here. Let me see here. What is Bugman says that's scary. Leave space. Well, you might not be able to leave space if people are trying to cause an accident. Let me see here. Goat Scroat says that was intense. Well, I'm just saying, that's how, I understand some of you, like, you've been in the military, you've been to war, you've dealt with violence. Some of you have dealt with violence in different ways. I'm trying to explain to you, I get to see violence as the guy afterwards, like, huh, and talk with people after they've used violence on people. And they're like, and I've asked them, like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, what happened? Tell me about it. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I wish I wouldn't have done this, but I did, and I'm stuck here now. I'm trying to explain to you, like, I have the experience of being, like, in the aftermath of the violence, after the glass has been shattered, and it's in a million fucking pieces, and you can't put it back together again. That's not a Karen Reed joke. I'm just saying, literally, like, you know, everything has been shattered. I'm trying to explain to you, it's a very different fucking world. You know, most people, like, you go up to the point of using force and then profit. But, like, step 3, like, there's a big step there you're forgetting. What's step 2? The aftermath of that force. You have to be prepared for the outcomes. A High Place Drifter says, I get it. Later, F off. Well, if you're talking to me, okay. Sorry. Bye. I should interview Cyrax. There ain't no fucking way. I don't want his scabies coming through the internet and infecting my house. So. Jordan says, okay, a new scenario. Pushy Baldo salesman refuses to leave. Yes, do I think it's bullshit people are giving him money? Yeah. I think it is, but you know what? They are. You should be prepared that's going to happen. You can't go, oh my God, these people are pieces of shit, and go, oh my God, they're acting like pieces of shit. Ah! Like, if you think they're bad, you should assume bad guys do bad guy things. You can't go shock Pikachu face when the shit you're saying happens. You're like, oh, totally expected, par for the course. Oh. So. Dirt Cheap says the twin was antagonizing anybody. He merely placed his hand on Stabber's shoulders. I mean, do we know for sure? How did it go? What did it look like? We don't know. The video would be very revealing here. Do I think it was like, how did he grab him? How did he shove him? You know, like, what all happened? We don't know the answer to that yet. So. Patty's saying he wanted to kill a white boy. I don't see that. Can the parents of the Metcalf sue the Anthonys? Not really. At some point, especially like they're 17, he's being tried as an adult. There's some like you're not liable at that point for what your kids do to an extent. If this is like a 10-year-old, yeah, they could be like, why are you letting your kid do all this crazy shit? But at this stage, no, they're adults basically. If Austin was black, we probably would have never heard about this. Yeah. He only stabbed him because he was white. It's in the police report. I never saw that in the police report, Topher. Unless there's extra police reports out there that I don't know about. The stuff that was released didn't mention any of that. So. Rumor has it he was a shit starter. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Not in the slightest bit. I'm sure every time somebody stepped on, like, he would fucking want to fight for the littlest slight. I'm sure. That's not a surprise. Does he have priors? I don't know. I get irritable because I'm the house boy all day. Oh, come on. Let's talk about your sneezing. Yeah, it's really starting to. Like earlier, I sneezed so much. Like when you sneeze, I could feel it in my back and shoulders. Like it's. I'm getting sore from sneezing. Adam says, I wish he had caught. I'm sure he's more like, I wish I hadn't done this. I'm sure he's realizing now, wow, maybe I've been a big fucking asshole all my life. Maybe I wish I would have learned to let shit go and walk away. I'm sure he's thinking that right now, and maybe he should have learned that, but he didn't. Sadly, he didn't in time. One could say the violence was intense. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, I've been in one fight. It was surreal. I've been in a couple of fights. I was in a fight one time where I thought, oh, I was having fun, and all of a sudden, like, two guys, like, I got grabbed from behind, I was on the ground, getting my fucking face kicked in, and catching a boot. Like, yeah, shit happens. Yes, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. I can't do it. I'm too stuffed up. Graham says, what is wrong with people? How the perp raised more than the victim? Because the people in this situation think it's racial. Black kid, and they want to, the ideas of racial solidarity. It's not a surprise. Patty says, no one got stabbed at a track meet 50 years ago. Are you sure about that? A lot of violence happens. It's just, are you hearing about it more? Like, this would happen. It depends on where you were. But either way, once again, you're standing here saying, oh my God, there are wolves loose in the community. And the wolves are, we can't control them. And then when the wolves attack somebody, you're like, oh my God, the wolves are like, yeah, no shit. So, is that cocaine on my nose? I wish it was. The police report said the knife was partially open. Yeah, it's probably some sort of folder. I'm sure it was open all the way when he used it. At the same time, I worry about the PKA curse if I were to go on their show. I don't think they'd want me on the show. I'm a lot more right than I think. I think the one guy who runs it is super not, and I don't think he'd like me. So, yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. You can't go being that shocked. You're like, well, shit. The thing I keep saying happens. So it's like, well, it should be like, yeah, par for the course. Oh, let's see. Yes, one-man towers do not count, chat. It's a team-building exercise. You cannot do it yourself. Cacophonies. Okay, look. If it wasn't raining, fine. He was under the tent. Wasn't raining or not, whatever. Okay? Only interview speculation. It's not accurate or listed anywhere. Only interview speculation. Okay, then it's not raining. I'll go with your statement. It wasn't raining. Chat, Cacophony says it wasn't raining. Great. It's not raining. Does it change your calculus at all? Even if it was pouring downpour, they could still kick him out of the tent. Okay? It doesn't matter. You're worried about a fact that's irrelevant. So, if K is guilty, the cities will burn. If he's innocent, little or no backlash. Well, that's a separate issue. That's a separate issue in communities. If they think that's a problem, they better do something about it. But I don't see him getting not guilty. I don't see him getting a not guilty. I don't see how the hell that happens. He's going to get convicted of something, and sure, he's probably going to plea out. I don't see how he goes to trial on this. I don't see how he goes to trial on this. Stacy says, how about the Michigan parents? They shouldn't have been charged. They shouldn't have been charged, but the government does it and nobody gets in the way of it. And if you're politically unpopular, you're going to get shafted. Like, no judge is going to get in the way of that and say it was wrong, because no judge wants to get unelected. I said that before when the Crumleys went to court. No judge is going to toss that, because that means they're automatically going to lose their job. If you're politically unpopular, you're fucked. That's just the nature of it. Aaron's saying, what rumors begin? John says, why are you dismissing a racial component? Has it been officially ruled out or something? I mean, like, right now, none of the evidence indicates that. Sure, if it turns out he's like, fuck you, white people, I want to kill me some crackers. He's like, maybe his Twitter handle's the Cucamonga Cracker Killer. Okay, great. Then he's racist and it's a hate crime, and yay. But do you think this is a hate crime, or do you think this is a couple of 17-year-olds jawing off at each other, and one of them shoves the other acts like a bitch and pulls out a knife and stabs the other guy? Which of those two theories makes the most sense given what we know right now? That it's racism, or it's a little 17-year-old bitch who got all scared and didn't know how to fight and just stabbed somebody. Like, which of those two options, one or two? I'm betting it's two. I'm willing to bet you money it's two. If it turns out it's one, great. Then we'll deal with that. But I'm just trying to tell you, what do you what do you think it is? That's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to make some basic guesses. There's a fake police report circling around. Yes, that too. And that's the same police report I saw right at the beginning, so I'm assuming it's still the same one. So, I'm sure I'm sure Karmelo couldn't deal with anybody telling him what to do. I'm sure anybody telling him what to do would probably get a similar thing in that situation. So, claiming it's not a hate crime, it's not retarded, but it's like, well, until you tell me it is, I'm not sure. So, I mean, like, once again, you're going to have to show me that it's a hate crime. Until then, it just looks like this is a very impulsive dumb fuck. Because that's normally what it is. But if it's a hate crime, great. Then we'll go burn down the jail. Until then, show me it's a hate crime. So, it's likely. So now it's likely to be a hate crime. Well, there you go. One man band says it doesn't seem like he was scared, more as if he was provoking. Well, I think a lot more of it is he's probably been able to bluff his way and use threats of force and threats of violence to get his way routinely. And he happened to run into somebody who, they didn't realize where their thresholds were. And this is that idea of knowing violence and understanding violence. Austin sees a guy with his hand in his bag and he's like, oh shit, that guy might have a weapon. Austin's like, oh, fuck him. Nobody brings a weapon to a track meet. Well, turns out he was wrong. It also turns out that Karmelo's threshold for violence was a lot lower than Austin's. So guess what? Austin's still not using deadly force, and Karmelo's like, I'll use it. Boom, he kills him. When you don't understand, you don't have a way to gauge that, you don't really understand it yet. They're 17-year-olds. Have they done it yet? No. But understanding how people are maybe willing to fight and the idea of how far people are willing to go, maybe you get a vibe for that. You kind of get a feel for that. You have a little bit of street smarts. Both these kids don't seem like they, Austin definitely grew up on the streets. I doubt Karmelo grew up on the streets. When I understand, he has a mom and a dad. So this idea like he's some rough, hard scrabble kid from the hood, I don't think so. I'm sure he's probably pretty soft too. But he had gotten away with being an asshole so much. And it finally backfired because he ran into somebody who wasn't taking his shit. So what happens? Well, Karmelo's run out of options. I can threaten. Didn't work. Oh shit, the guy grabbed me. Well, I'm probably not going to be able to kick his ass. Knife time. And stabbed him. I'm kind of betting you that's how it all broke down. So. Let's see here. Marlene says, I'll burn down the jail, Sean. For entertainment purposes only, maybe. So. Johnny says, you live in Texas, Sean? You know about the racism there? I mean, yeah, there are racial problems all over the place. Do I think race, here's the thing, Johnny, does this seem like this was the racist thing here? No, this wasn't like the Memphis 3 where they butchered and beat that white couple to death and savagely abused them. This isn't that. This is some pretty impulsive shit here. This is not one of those situations. So, Woody, Woody's that guy? Okay, yeah. The batons can be a weapon. Yes, we learned about that from the other track crime that happened recently. So, this is probably the first time Anthony stabbed somebody. I'm sure this is the first time anybody's ever really stood up to him. I'm sure he's used threats and bullying to get his way on a lot of things, and he finally said somebody wasn't taking his shit, and he decided to escalate all the way because he had no other options. In his mind, he ran out. His decision tree ran out, so it's like, fuck, I better use it. You know, and one of us will be right. This is some super secret racial purifying campaign. He's a black Einsatzgruppen, or he was a little bitch who didn't realize people weren't gonna be scared. One of us is gonna be right. One of us will be right. So, wasn't he there skipping school? I don't know. Who knows, really? So, the black kid hung out with a lot of white kids to be racist. Yeah, that's. Oh God, it's killing me. It's killing me tonight, guys. So, oh, and I agree, old Ayn Red. It was definitely at least one kid who hasn't been taught to regulate his emotions. You don't stand one for shoving you. I agree. I agree. I agree. Or he thought he was able to force and do whatever the fuck he wants, and that's how he used it, was by not taking shit from anybody. Seller says, wasn't he getting the knife out before being touched? No, from the way it's understood, he had his hand in the bag the whole time. Was like, he said, he said, touch me and see what happens. And then he says, if you punch me, you'll see what's going to happen. So they shoved him, and at that point, he pulls out the knife and right in the guy's chest. That's what it sounds like. At some point, we'll see the video. And I'm sure at that point, Patty will hear him screaming Black Power, death to white people, and whatever it is you're worried about. And I'm sure we'll find out it's a hate crime. So, you need a scorpion and God, I can feel all of it dripping down my throat. Oh, no, it's sinuses. The modern version of the scorpion and the frog using tarantula heads. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I'm skeptical he regrets his actions, only getting caught. I guarantee you this Anthony guy, he's fucking soft as fuck. I guarantee you he's soft as fuck. I mean, like, you guys are like... I guarantee you he's soft as fuck. He's not, the hoodest guy out there. You guys are like, it's funny how, like, hard you think he is out there. I'm sure he's, like, crying like a little girl. Mommy! Like, I'm sure he's crying about his fucking mommy. I guarantee you he's crying for his fucking mommy. I guarantee you he was not prepared for this to end the way it did. I guarantee you. And guys, looks like Centennial High School's in Burleson, Texas, and this looks pretty decent as well. I'm sure he thought he was tough, and now he's crying like a little girl out there. So, ever since I called Sean P. Diddy Combs Martin Esquire, no more interaction, so I bring it up again. I didn't see you, Tommy, but oh. You think he's laughing? I don't think he is. I think he's a little soft bitch. You guys are being ridiculous. He's got a bail hearing on Monday. Yeah, I don't think he shouldn't be out on bail. Shouldn't be. I mean, he's gonna have bond set, but I don't think it's gonna be a low bond. I hope it should be a couple $100,000 still. I mean, you can't trust this guy not to fucking hurt people. He got into a shoving match and killed somebody. So yes, he's very dangerous. Very unregulated. It's the hometown of gangsters like Eric July. Yeah, that's the thing, Bella. Like I said, he's like private schoolhood. He's like the guys in 8 Mile. Yeah, Papa Doc. Like, they're all tough. They went to a private school. I'm sure he went to a lily white decent like this high school in Burleson. Looks pretty fucking nice. I don't think he's the toughest kid out there. That's why I think when he got confronted, he panicked and used his knife because that's all he knows is fronting, and finally somebody called his bullshit and he panicked. Yeah, look at his mugshot crying. Yeah, like I said, I think he had a problem. So, like I said, if I had to guess. Truthless is premeditated once he pulled out the knife. I don't think at that point it's premeditated, but I think it's just regular. Like he caused murder. Like I said, I don't see this being manslaughter. I don't see him being able to argue any sort of imperfect self-defense or anything like that he provoked it or anything like that. I think this is just straight up murder. I think he's tossed. I think he's toast. He's toast. His classmate gave an interview saying he was known for getting into fights at school. He doesn't look that tough, so I can't imagine him really getting into fights. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it being premeditated murder. It's just whiny little bitch who got. So, Chugi Show says, hey, before the show ends, can you explain what Aaron's DV evaluation is all about? Why is he being subject to that? Thanks. I'm not sure because I don't understand the whole ideas in Minnesota. I don't know if it's because of April getting involved, bringing up information, or because the type of crime it is, where there's, the unconsensual dissemination of pictures, and those normally occur in like situations where there's a relationship between the parties that's intimate and might be a domestic situation. Maybe that's it, or maybe it's because of Aaron's previous restraining order charge. Don't really know. Don't know the answer. Could be like any number of reasons. Maybe they do it for everybody. I don't know. Maybe that judge does it all the time too. I don't know. So I wish I had an answer for you. Dude, for $10 says 30 seconds, my ass. Well, are you saying your ass, you need 30 seconds for your ass, or you need what about your ass in 30 seconds? Not clear. Not clear. Patrick 7 is a new member. Thank you, Patrick. Tayo Toys, Phil, how are you doing, man? Yes, member for 4 months. Thanks for the support. The knife is sharper than the baton. Very true. Very true. You know what would have helped the kids to have if they had javelins? They could have poked him. He pulls out a knife, you pull out a javelin. He pulls out a knife, you're carrying a big spear that you can throw. Patty says, why the fuck did he bring a knife to a track meet? I'm sure he carries it around all the time. He goes about healed. I'm sure he carries a weapon everywhere. I mean, it wasn't just oh, I'm going to the track meet, I need to tool up. I'm sure he carries a tool everywhere he goes. Once again, because I think he thinks he's hood, and he really ain't. He ain't about that life. Patrick for $5. Thank you, Patrick. Police admit they have a video of the fight leading up to the stabbing, but they won't release it. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm sure all the kids had cameras, so we'll see. Lamo's been a member for 4 months. Says, I guess the moral of the story is never relax. It's not never relax. You can relax, but it's just you've got spidey senses for a reason. Trust them. Whiskey 77 says, my trigger finger is itchy. I feel like some grays are in danger. The Amateur Iconoclast gifted 1 sub. Thank you. KRM says the Scott Adams Invitational. Yes. The John Derbyshire Invitational as well. And then real quick, the Amateur Iconoclast gifted another sub. And another sub. 3 subs, chat. Johan Naxos gifted 5 subs. Thank you, Johan. And then Whiskey 77 with 20 subs, chat. 20. Coming in here, chat. We are praying the gray away tonight. Doing our part out there. That said, though, Grays, I still love you. Look, my hair is gray. We don't mind the Grays. We do love the Grays. So, guys, that's, please, hopefully you understand this is all in jest. I understand not everybody can afford memberships. It's a game. It's a bit of a joke we have. So, please don't take it personally. If you do, I am very sorry. I don't mean to do it like that. If I've come across lately as kind of like being like, really, like, if you're not a member, fuck you. I really don't mean that. Like, if you guys are here, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being part of this. Just watching it is great. If you're liking it, thank you. If you're commenting, thank you. If you subscribe, thank you. I truly mean that. Like, that alone is worth its weight in gold. So I appreciate anything people do out there. I also know a bunch of you like hiding there and you're proud of being Grays too. So, that's the funny thing here. So, but yes, thank you, Whiskey 77 for your 20 subs, guys. Him and 3 Beers are Assholes React. You can find them there on YouTube. Assholes with $signs in it. They are live every Sunday night at 9:00 Eastern time. Kind of talking about stuff going on in the week, reacting to stuff out there. Obviously, that's what they do. They react. And, they would probably call themselves assholes. So, once again, guys, thank you for your support and your generosity. And real quick, we got to get this because I just saw it pop up on screen. Whiskey 77 with 50 more subs, chat. Let's go, chat. Let's go. It is time tonight. They're doing their part. Are you doing your part, chat?
Fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Fight for the future.
Just clicked on it again. Oof. Yes, they're doing their part, chat. If you guys are members, we do have things you can take advantage of. I know a lot of people out there. If you do become a member, you get access to all the emojis. That's like really the big thing in chat. We do try to do members only stuff throughout the week. Like I said, it's not anything that you won't miss, like the big stories, things like that, like this. I would never make this members only, but there might be some things in the future we do that are members only that are like little extras. Okay. But like the big stuff, I will never hide that behind a paywall because I enjoy sharing the information. I enjoy the interaction on these really important topics out there. So don't ever feel like you're going to miss out. I mean, like you might miss out on some like things, but it's never going to be like, oh my God, Sean talked about XYZ case and it's only behind the paywall. I would never do that. Would never, ever do that. Yes, but members do get Clyde. You get the Killdozer. You do get the Ryder trucks, the Glock, the bag of fertilizer. You get all that as an emoji. So you get access to all that stuff. Hold on, why is this not working? Hold on here. What am I looking for? Hold on. Hold on, where is... So... But Whiskey 77, thank you for the support and your generosity. I appreciate it. Real quick, chat. AJ Arguello gifted 5 subs. Stephen Cooper gifted 5 more subs. Amateur Iconoclast gifted a sub. And hold on here. Did I get all? I think I got everybody. Yes. Guys just coming in there, taking the greens, and just letting chat know.
See this? That means not welcome.
Although it's funny in that clip, it's kind of got like that sepia and gray tone. So it's saying not welcome, but the whole thing is filmed in like that gray tone. So it's like, how does that work? How does that work technically? It's like, yeah. Funny thing there. And also, yes, somebody is correct. Jabal Dunn says, yes, later on, Danny he sees the error of his ways and is no longer pro-green. So how does that work in that movie? Very true. Very true. So something to think about out there. Nick, who's been a member for 14 months, thank you for that support. Says, when keeping it real goes wrong. Yes. Duncan Idaho has been a member for 13 months, says Dindu. Very true. Project Calm says, at a secured/supervised sporting event where such minor scuffles are common, how many Texas jurors have seen a fight at a football game? In Texas, probably quite a few. York says, develop facts. Is there any way this is self-defense? No, I really don't. I mean, like, if he had an argument of, like, if there's a bunch of people about to kick your ass, even if they're only using hands, disparity of force when there's multiple assailants does become an issue. It does become a factor. I mean, obviously, the biggest disparity of force out there would be Mike Tyson versus Betty White. That would be a very good example of disparity of force and capability, age, strength, and knowledge. But let's say it's Mike Tyson versus 6 Mike Tysons, and you cloned them and it's 6-on-1. That's another disparity of force, numbers of people. You're all equally capable, but now there's a bunch of you. Like you're fighting 6-on-1. Well, now, yeah, the math changes. Disparity of force is always a case-by-case analysis, but I don't think there's anything here to indicate that happened either. It sounds like it was a one-on-one issue, from what we can tell. So it doesn't matter. But thank you for York. How you doing, man, by the way? Duncan Idaho says, for the culture! Yes, very true. Phil Coggin says, most people have no idea what true violence is. Very true, man. Very true. Hold on. Where is... State. It's actually a very good book. If you never did it, it's helpful to read so you understand stuff. It's called Facing Violence, and it's by a guy named Rory Miller. He is a guy who's worked in a lot of prisons, done a lot of corrections work, and has kind of like advised and trained people all over the place. He's very good, very knowledgeable. It gives you food for thought. Whiskey77 says, if chat hits 200 likes, I'll go do 50 memberships. Well, thank you, Whiskey. I appreciate that. One Man Band says, what was else in that bag? Other people's stuff? I don't think we know clearly yet. Did I hear about the New York Post article about the chick suing a paternity test facility because they messed up and she aborted a baby because the test said her fiance wasn't the dad and was wrong? Oh, buddy. Wow. Wow. But how would that work? I mean, because that means almost like she's admitting she knows she's a hoe. Really? I mean, think about that. If she's not a hoe, she knows it's his. But if she was a hoe, she might have reason to believe it's not his. That's a weird roundabout way to admit you might be a hoe. When you think about it. Or she was stooping out on him, and either way, not good look, not a good look from her. I'll have to look for that, Steven. Let me take a look for that. Ammo's Currency said, Austin made the mistake of not understanding 80% of some groups have an IQ under 81 and are more likely to act violently. Yes, I mean, you can make all the jokes, 1350 and all that. He didn't appreciate those things. If those are true, that's the thing. Elephant for $2. Stabby, 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 stab. Yes. And Brandon says, let's go, Brandon. How you doing, man? It's good to see you. All that's needed are Niger and cracker emojis. Saves time on building towers. Keeps the gray and green fractions happy. The obvious next step. Very true. Thank you. I'll take that under advisement. Oh. David Davis has been a member for 6 months. Thank you, David. Is saying Karmelo Anthony was a massive bitch with no self-control. I agree. Thank you for being here for 6 months, by the way. I appreciate it. So, wow, you guys are on fire tonight. A lot of comments in chat. Alucard said, when did my area code become the number for hoes? Well, it happens like that. Oh, Marlene is saying this lady. Oh, so her story was they broke up over infertility issues. And she sought comfort wherever they got back with her one true love, then killed his baby. Yeah, that seems weird. Did I see the video where the Idaho police shot the kid who was 17 behind the fence? Yes, I finally have seen the clip. Guy in YouTube or on Twitter, Will, had sent it to me. Apparently he knows people involved in it. Yeah, we're going to cover that probably coming up here because, yeah, the guy's got a knife, but they're behind a chain link fence. Now, it's only like a, waist or chest high chain link fence, but they shoot the guy. They're like, oh my God. And, there's a fence between you and you still fucking shot him. Like, yes, the cops got scared. They had a tampon attack. I did see it. It's absolutely fucking awful. And the guy's brain dead. So they're probably going to take him off life support soon. Darcy says, in my day, you had to have the baby before paternity test. Yeah, but they're getting better and better with technology. So, there you go. Yes, Joe, I get. Yeah, wait, she's suing because the baby was hers, was actually her partner's, and the test was mishandled? Yeah, sounds like it. Tread says that the guy was stealing. Does that affect any of the claims for or against him? I know someone's committing acts while committing a separate crime makes the previous act more of a crime. Is that true here? Yeah, if he was stealing shit, then you could argue it almost becomes robbery or felony murder or anything. But also, if he's stealing shit, even if he was justified in self-defense, let's say like the facts turned out where like there was unlawful escalations and things like that. Let's say we got around provocation, all the other issues. Let's say he was stealing things and his use of force was still acceptable. I think a jury still convicts him because they're not going to want somebody to get away with it if they're being a bad guy. But that's way too far down the road. There'd be multiple things there. You're not entitled to self-defense when you get caught committing a crime like that. So no, he would be fucked anyway, even more so. But we'll see what happens as more information came out. Sturm Dong says Karmelo lawyers quit. Really? Oh, if they have, it's interesting. I don't know anything about that yet. So, Patty says, I just bought that book. It better be good. It's very good. You'll learn a lot. So, Garrett says, to be fair, rape happens. Yeah, but I don't think this is that situation. Yes, rape happens. But how many, it's, it's like when there's the abortion debates. And it's like, what about when there's rape and incest? Okay, how many incest rape babies are actually out there on this? Like the reality of the mythical rape incest baby that we have to kill. We have to abort the incest rape babies. Okay, fine. But it's never just about the incest rape babies. It's always about aborting every other baby. So people arguing about the exceptions. So, oh, you guys are, the chick was a hoe. Yeah, it's a Dr. Phil episode in the making, yes. Did you see the crazy man with the chainsaw in the nursing home? Yes, I did. I did see that. I think we covered that one night on my on the local stream. Yeah, the guy's running around nursing home with a chainsaw and the cops just standing there while the guy's like trying to fire it up. Vroom, vroom. And the cop's like, wait, don't do it. And then the guy's running through the hallways, finally gets it running, and then they finally shoot him. And it's like, as he's like trying to fire it up, you should have been like, boop. But I get why they didn't want to shoot. So, Dirt Cheap says Nikolai Mew is elder, ill, and being beaten by a bunch of young football players and is sitting in a cage for the rest of his life, but he's white. Yeah, well, his victim was white too. At the end of the day, like, the other issue though was, remember, it's kind of like what happened here. People are going to say all that, but remember, why did they get into a fight? What was it over? What were you getting into a fight over? Because you have to, here's the thing. And I appreciate Dirt Cheap, your comment. Your super chat, by the way. When you use deadly force, you kill somebody. When you kill someone, that jury is gonna want to have a really good fucking reason why you did that. So just like the dumpster defenders, why did they get into this fight? They got into a fight over a fucking mattress in a fucking dumpster in a dirty fucking alleyway. Think about that for a second. That's what it was all about at the end of the day. The average juror is going to be fucking mortified that you guys got into a gunfight over that. People are looking at Nikolai and you guys got into a fight over being in the fucking river? Like, I'm sure they saw that as white trash bullshit. They're like, fuck, we're not putting up with this. Like, when you are in these situations, you better be like, once again, like, part of this for Nikolai Mew, I'm sure was part of, I ain't taking no shit from these kids. You know, you gotta learn how to be a little flexible in life. You know, remember what we learned about what was happening in the float. Like, the other people that were Nikolai Mew were like, I don't fucking worry about it. I ain't worried about it. It's gone. It's a fucking phone. You ain't gonna find it. No, he's like, I'm gonna go do it. Well, he goes out there and fucking, he did it. Like, it's gone, brother. Like, let it go. Let it go. That you have to learn how to do that. This shit is not worth getting into fights over. You're getting in a situation where there's a bunch of high school kids who are all liquored up. Oh, fuck, these guys might kick my ass. I'm going to get out of the way. You know, it's like walking up, you're like, oh, I found the iPhone. It's sitting underneath a pack of hyenas. Would you want to go? I'll fight these fucking hyenas. Fuck yeah, let's go. Let's go. Let's go, motherfuckers. Or you'd be like, maybe another day. You have to think about this shit. You have to think about this shit. You know, some of you might sit there and say, well, that's not fair. You have to do whatever the fuck people like, being a bitch or whatever. Do you think Nikolai Mew would have rather have walked away and done the bitch thing now? Or do you think he sits there and, he's in he's sitting in prison. He's like, I'll tell you what, motherfuckers, I didn't back down. I ain't take no shit from nobody. I ain't no bitch. Or you think he's like, fuck, I wish I could go home. I wish I could see my dog. I wish I could spend time with my wife and my kids. Or you think he's like, nah, man, I'm jiggling his nuts. Yeah, I did it. I was a man, motherfucker. No, I'm sure he's like, fuck, I wish I could go home. I mean, you saw him there, he cried about his dog. I'm sure he wants to go home. I'm sure he's like, fuck, I wish I wouldn't have done this. You really gotta think about this shit when you buy that fucking ticket. You know, it's like the whole thing with Kyle Rittenhouse I pointed out. Kyle Rittenhouse is teaching CCW classes now. I don't know what good he's going to do at that. I doubt he's got the training for that. Kyle Rittenhouse would be better off saying, yeah, guys, I went to that riot and it ruined my fucking life. Sure, I got acquitted, but I can't get a fucking job anywhere. I can't even operate a fucking forklift somewhere without people trying to ruin my job. My family's had their life fucking ruined. People are hunting them down, threatening them. I'm probably going to get death threats till I die, and people actually might try to kill me. I'm sure he's probably going to say, I wish I would have sat at home and played fucking Call of Duty all night instead. Once again, you better be prepared. You're going if you're getting out of the boat, chat, it's apocalypse now. Never get out of the boat unless you're going all the fucking way. Are you prepared to go all the fucking way? Do you know what going all the way actually means? You better be fucking prepared for it. Nikolai Mew wasn't prepared to go all the way. He thought he was, but he wasn't. Something you have to think about out there, you guys. So, are they charging Karmelo as an adult or juvenile? He's an adult. Texas 17. You can be an adult for crimes. Bella says the knife at the table or the school was all illegal. Yeah. Yep. It's a misdemeanor. Carmelo's first 2 lawyers quit. Now he's got a race grifter. I'm sure. But to be fair, he's guilty as shit. So that's the only card left to play. It's like OJ. Johnny Cochran was right. They dealt the race card, every race card out of the deck. That's all he can do is the race card now. That's all he's got. I don't blame him. If I was representing him, you'd almost have to make it a racial issue. It is what it is. Torgo says everything by Rory Miller's worth reading. Well, there we go. Pat says, what about the child porn? Oh. Bella's, yes, less than 3% of abortions are rape, incest, or life from the mother. Exactly. So, yes, Torgo, there's a guy running around a nursing home with a chainsaw, and it was pretty funny. So. Let's see here. So Dirt Cheap says they were holding his head underwater. I understand that. But before all that happened, remember, you're already talking about like as shit's kicked off. You got to rewind back all the way to the beginning. Like you're trying to argue about what's happening while it's happening. Yeah, once it happens, it's game on. Rewind it back all the way to before he runs into him. There is a decision tree, and he chose one option and kept going down that path. Maybe he should have gone the other way, took the other options. That's my point. So. Yes, Aaron, you're correct. Those kids were dicks. Sure. But, Nikolai Mew had a couple of road pops in him too, and I'm sure he hadn't taken those shit from nobody. Once again, how fucking far are you prepared to go, and are you prepared to deal with the results of that? Like, that's the calculus you have to sit down right now before you go out in the world. You don't want to make that calculus as shit's going down. You need to be mentally prepared. If something happens, how far am I willing to fucking go? Look at people like Nikolai Mew. Look at people like this. Look at these bar fights and violence you see on YouTube here, real life. People committing violence and say, would I do that if he did it? No. Okay, well, how do I make sure I don't get in those situations? You need to make sure you understand this before you go out there, because you can't, like, Kyle Rittenhouse, did he really expect that he was going to have to kill anybody that night? No, I'm sure he thought, I'd have guns and people would be scared away. He thought his gun was a magic wand. People would stay away from him. Well, he dealt with some people who were fucking, once again, Joe Rosenbaum and all those people, like Rosenbaum and Huber, they were fucking lunatics. Huber and Rosenbaum were a couple of loser felons who wanted to cause problems. And Gage Grosskreutz was a fucking commie, a revolutionary communist who wasn't afraid to do things. So Kyle ran into people who were about that life. And guess what? He had to put him fucking down. Do you think he really wanted to do that or was prepared for that? No. It still sounds like he's got PTSD from that event. And part of the reason why you have PTSD, you are not mentally geared up for that moment. And guess what? He had to fucking put in work. He had to save his life. But like, if you're walking down the street and you're tooled up, you better be prepared. I might have to fucking drop some people. Otherwise, why are you doing it? So it's just something you have to think about. Jim Cox is right. The more I get older, the more I think about shit. But when I was young, yeah. Yep. Mew was trying to walk away when the second group approached him. I'm not worried about the second group. I'm just saying again, guys, could he have done things? Can Nikolai Mew have done anything differently? Because here's the point. It wasn't as though he got set upon by everybody and everybody just immediately attacked him. Could he have done things differently? And if you're going to say no, you're being a fucking liar. Think about how maybe he could have done anything differently. Just think about it. So that's the point. Is Nick Mew a U.S. citizen? Yes. He's naturalized. Yes, you buy the ticket. And you need to know the ride never ends. Yeah, you're not. It's a ticket, and you don't know where you hopped on a bus and you don't know the route, and you're on the bus route till it ends. So you don't know if the bus is going out of town. But you're along for the ride. Zimmerman had people take shots at him while he was driving around. Yeah. George Zimmerman's one of those people too. I mean, he think about it. He can't live a normal life. He basically lives like in hiding all the time. So yeah, and Bell, this is a great point. Anytime he talks, people come after him. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Can he get capital punishment? No, he cannot. Stephen Bunt says, "This mean I can get tool lessons by Sean? How to be one?" Well, yeah, just watch my shows. You'll learn how to be a tool. How to be one, ones to carry, and when, and whether schism is any good, and if you know the pieces fit. Oh, very well done, sir. Very well done. So, Infernal Machine says, so provocation cannot be part of his defense. I don't think it's any of that's going to work. He doesn't really have self-defense claims. He's going to maybe have to do a racial claim, like throwing the race card out there. So, you can't provoke a fight and then claim self-defense. Generally, yes. In Texas, that doesn't sound like it. But there's times where, like, if I start to, like, it all depends on, exactly how the provocation goes or what's considered provocation. So, we'll see. But overall, he's going to have trouble. Dirt Cheap says, what? He never said one word to them. They were preventing him from returning to his group. You guys, I'm trying to explain to you, he could have done different ways of handling that, and he didn't do it the right way. What happened to those guys that shot somebody over a mattress? Well, one of them got acquitted, and the son got acquitted, and the dad's in prison, and they're gonna die in prison. So, I mean, like, yay, I guess. So, let me see here. Kathy says, what made you stop fighting? Who did what fighting? Fatty Kenny says, Kyle got clout. He got his clout. He got his thought girlfriend, and he would do it all over. Yeah, I'm sure he would. I'm sure he'd rather be able to live a normal life. So, did they ever find the skateboard guy that hit Kyle? Yeah, the skateboard guy was Huber. He got shot and killed. Huber was the guy Kyle shot from sitting down. Are you talking about the jump kick guy? They figured out who he was too. Aaron Mameen says, Nick said it's self-defense. I'm not saying it's not self-defense. I'm just saying it might be self-defense and the jury doesn't believe you. So are you prepared? Anytime you use force, are you prepared to, like, face the consequences of that? Which means you might be justifying the jury doesn't buy it. There are people who had decent self-defense claims who are in prison. Like, it happens. Are you prepared for that outcome? If not, you really need to reevaluate things. Elephant says, going all in, the Somali rules say we eat Clyde. Yes. Let's see here. J-Rock says, please, Nick Friday. There's no, no, I got other things I'd rather do. I got all kinds of shit I'd rather do than watch him. So no, we're not going to do that. Sorry. Oh, Kathy says, when you were young, when you were in fights, there's a couple times I was like, fuck, I'm doing some retarded shit here. Like, you get hanging around with a bunch of people and you're liquored up and shit's starting to happen. Like, I don't need that. I don't need a felony charge. I don't need to go to jail or prison. Like, I don't fucking need any of that retarded shit. And I'm not really a good fighter. I got lucky. I've like a couple of times I've been in something, somebody's kicking the other guy's ass and I get to like jump in. And the one time that happened, he had buddies I didn't know about and they fucking grabbed me and they started kicking my ass. So that was kind of like, wow, I need to grow the fuck up. This isn't fun. It's not fun. That's why. Get your ass kicked isn't fun. So, like I said, I am not fucking Jason Statham. I've got my ass kicked a couple of times. It's not fun. Not fun. So, yeah, he meant Jump Kick Guy. Yeah, Jump Kick Guy is known, but they didn't bother dealing with him. So, let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to catch up. You guys are going way too fast. All right, chat. So we're all done. We're all done. I think I got everything here. I think I caught everybody. So with that said, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here tonight. It's 2 hours. We got 2 shows in. Did you see Chad Reed and Kyle Caruth turning out how it did? At the time, it was kind of a weird one, but yeah, it makes sense for Texas. And ultimately, once again, that's another good example. You know, the guy's holding a gun and you start fucking storming at him. Are you like Kyle, like, you know, he thought, oh, you're not going to shoot me. Are you like, once again, these guys, they didn't understand violence. That guy's got a gun. Are you sure his threshold for violence is just like yours, or is it a lot lower? And the guy with the gun just says, fuck it, and drills you and kills you. Congratulations. Now you're dead. I'm sure that kid is like, God, I miss my dad. Not, oh, my dad didn't take no shit from nobody. My dad was a fucking Chad. No, I'm sure he's like, fuck, I miss my dad. I wish he wasn't an asshole and fucking got into a fight with a guy with a gun. So there you go. That's the point. That's the point. Like, you know, these people, like that kid's not sitting there saying, my daddy fought. No, you're like, my dad fucking dead. So, and the mom's a dumb hoe too. Yeah. Tim says, if the prosecutor stabs me after my next objection, we'll miss you. To be fair, I'm like, I don't think most of the prosecutors, like most of them ain't going to be able to stab me. I could block them. I'll be all right. But I appreciate it, Tim. Oh. So. Pseudo Snark, as a former police officer, so many shootings I wrote the report for, included in the line by the victim. I said, you won't shoot me. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Trying to argue with a guy who's got a gun is never a smart idea. So, when on that note, chat, once again, I understand you guys didn't like a lot of that. It's the reality of the way it is, man. You know, if you go out there thinking, wow, some people are subhuman, then you should Be prepared for them to do that thing you're worried about. For the rest of us, you should be prepared. Hey, this guy I'm going to talk to and confront might just kill me over this because he might be a fucking psychopath. He might have no impulse control. He may not understand what he's doing. Govern yourself accordingly. Govern yourself accordingly. It's the only way to be sure. So, guys, I don't know if we're going to do models in a second or not. I got to take a leak and everything and talk to 2.0. But in the meantime, chat, thank you all for being here. And remember, until next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Except if you're Karmelo. You're pretty much fucked there, Home Slice. So you're never going to see this because you're never getting out. But yeah, not a good look for you, brother. So hope you guys can cut a deal soon. Cut a deal soon because you need to fucking cut a deal. Am I going to stream Karen Reader recaps? I will stream Karen Reed, but it's not going to be live because I got shit going on. But I will be able to do, like, during the evening, we'll be trying to catch up. So it is something we can work on, though. So I will see you guys about that. In the meantime, chat, you guys take care and enjoy yourselves. Good night. Oh, Bronco's going on Tim Pool. Good for him. That's awesome news. Awesome news. Good night, chat. I will see you guys. If you do a model stream, like, I don't know, give me like, you know what? We'll do a model stream. Give me a couple of minutes and we'll set one up.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws. Tips on hunting.
In honor of Grilled Cheese Day. There you go. Oh my God, he ate a sandwich!
And even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops. Even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?